I don't want to write in regard to.
Okay, good morning. If you'd join me in the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I make a motion we approve the minutes from the June 20th meeting and the June 24th meeting.
I second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So, hello, Eric, come in.
Morning, Eric.
Good morning.
How are you?
Yeah, look, this gentleman had something for us. I don't know.
I don't know.
I seen him get up. I just wondered.
Mr. Bedley, you have the floor.
All right. Well, don't have a whole lot, but a few items to get you up to speed on. 200th in the railroad tracks, or 200th and 739. We did get the culvert replaced last week.
Good.
So that's taken care of. Also, we had another one show up, 250th and Arrowhead back to the west. Culvert gave out there, had an 18-inch hole in the middle of the road and 3 foot. It had eroded out underneath, so they're repairing that today
Okay.
and getting that replaced as we speak right now. Yale Road, we did mill it up Friday. And we're hauling gravel in there now to help stabilize it and what have you. But I'm not sure that we don't need to take a long look at the rest of that all the way to Mapleton.
I hate to agree with you, but I've said that before. It's one of them roads that needs to be asphalt, probably, heavy traffic. But
Absolutely,
it's not gonna get any better till you fix it.
absolutely.
It's just one of those
It
deals.
just keeps blowing apart.
Yeah.
And we're just throwing asphalt at it, money at it,
Yeah.
and
Well, you patched, and then next week you got new holes next patch, so I mean, it's just,
or the patch you patched, it's starting
We've
to,
been doing that for years, haven't we?
yeah, we didn't gain any.
You know, we just haven't been able to get back and do the asphalt like we thought we would.
Now, we will asphalt from county line down to Yellowstone. That section.
Down that hill.
Come down that hill there this year.
That was on your list.
That's on the list, so what we will do, get to that here.
So are you recommending going to Mapleton, or what's,
I-
that's,
It's something we definitely need to think about, and
when we did Eagle Road from 250 to 69, it was not very popular, but we had to do it.
and
Oh, no, you are gonna get,
absolutely,
you're gonna have some pretty major protests.
There's people still mad over Eagle Road.
right. I understand, but it's also a safety factor as well.
It's a safety factor. Someone gonna get hurt, gonna be a pothole show up, we're not aware of it.
So
Boom.
it's something we need to definitely think about. So I
Okay.
want to bring that to your attention. As far as asphalting, we got our distributor truck back last Thursday. Contractor was able to come in Friday for Yale Road, so we hope maybe latter part of this week. If not, we will for sure be starting next week on our asphalt.
Hyattville.
And we'll start at Hyattville. We got all of our equipment there. We're staged there. We're ready to go.
Good.
We're having some sickness issues and what have you right now, so we're getting through those and moving right along. But Hyattville will be where we start, and there is a possibility we'll get a little bit of asphalt put down this week
Yeah.
in Hyattville. So we'll just see how Yale Road turns out first, and then move from there.
Well, your sickness, probably some of it's COVID. Do we need to be really doing anything different yet, or?
It's
Okay.
It's
What it is, yeah.
it is what it is,
I
and
need to get rid of this chair, it's too comfortable.
I understand.
we're moving forward with it. So
Yeah.
had more trees go down over the weekend. Got those removed. One was out at Bourbon Allen Lake, there on the west side. And then we had one up on Yale 245th area up in there. And then we got a call today of another one that went down on Birch, west of 250th. So we're got the other two taken care of. We'll get the other one taken care of this morning. So
Pretty good winds, man. Must have.
they said that the one out there at Bourbon Island, it done at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the wind really wasn't.
Or just boom.
It just went. So
I had limbs that blew away about 100 to 200 yards off
Really?
the trees.
wow, yeah, that one out there looked like the root base. Just there was no root base to it, and it just.
I got
finally
one,
went.
I know, probably in last July, but I was looking at it, and it's a big tree, been there forever. It's split right down the middle. So, you know, the wind, it's just tears them up.
Right. Ditching, we are doing some ditching on Hackberry and 215th. We are gonna pull the dirt out in the road, pack it in, and
Good.
I know that's not gonna be popular, but it's something that needs to be done so we can build the road back up,
Yeah.
and then we'll get gravel back on it and move forward. But people need to realize and understand it's gonna be an inconvenience, and but in the
Kinda
long run, or in the long haul, it'll be what's best.
Kind of wonder if it wouldn't hurt to run the water truck down through there
We'll
little few times.
do that as well to compact it
That
in.
way to pack it in.
Right.
Before it rains and turns into a sloppy mess.
Absolutely.
Well, and Jim and I have talked about this over years, about kicking that stuff off.
Yeah. Well, you'll probably have to add some water to compact it. properly.
Absolutely, yeah. So,
Hopefully
Back
we
it.
don't get a drencher rain. But if you do, you do.
we do. I mean, it's,
Well, it's the
But-
only way you're gonna get that dirt back on the road.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And that's
So,
the best way to build that road.
right. So,
I agree.
anyhow, just giving you a heads up on that in case you get a call
Okay.
that's in your district,
Oh, you
so.
will.
I will. If it rains, I'll get
Right, so.
part of it, so.
And then we are doing some pothole patching down in the Garland area today.
Okay.
I think we had a request come through on that, and
Okay.
we have,
And you had a request to rock some road down there
that was on Poplar, I believe.
from Mr. Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
Okay, I guess
Poplar.
I didn't read it in detail.
Yeah,
on that.
yeah,
Okay.
it was Poplar, so.
I don't need
And
no rock.
we're addressing that one today as well,
I
so
got you.
anyhow. That's all I have there. Do you have anything for me?
What'd you come up with on Hackberry?
We're looking at that when we get out there to do height fill. We think we may be able to blade in a little asphalt to buy us a little bit of time on that. But that's
Okay.
another road we're gonna have to, it's another sub-base issue.
It is.
It's-
And it-
Yeah, and it's just
It
really that
almost-
first mile is the big one. Don't know why, but it is. Probably because originally it was chip and seal.
I don't know if that, or I don't know what was used for
Because I know when
base.
they overlaid it
I don't
the
know. It was
last
there
time.
that, done before I came back. I
Yeah,
don't know. But I think we're just going, some days that got sub-base failure, we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and fix them.
yeah,
Not popular, but
I think it was chip and seal originally.
was it? I don't know. So,
Because I know they come in and put a 3-inch lift on it afterwards over the old stuff.
I don't know. I wasn't here, but
Yeah.
I know people who live down there wouldn't agree with me, but Eagle Road, that's 3 miles, is a better road today than it was when we started.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
A lot better road, except the dust, of course. But,
right, the dust.
But it's not dangerous, it's up the dust. It's kind of a pain, but, okay. I don't have anything.
I don't
All
have
right,
anything.
thank you.
A good one.
Sorry to interject, I don't know, can I, if I have a question for Mr. Bailey, can I ask now, or is he?
Sure.
leaving?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, the first couple items, were you working on 215? I know the last one you said 215 Hackenberry, but were you working on 215? One of the couple of first items you said, or no?
We are working on 215th, doing culverts. What area?
Well, right, east of Evergreen, cemetery is where I live.
Uh-huh.
We met out there and looked at, and there's a couple places where it's silted in, kind of the drives from the cemetery, you know, just natural, everybody knows silt.
Right?
But it's kind of filled with ditches where then that can, diverts it over on my property.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's done some damage in some, but one's really bad, where I got some pretty bad ruts. We're looking at that, I sent some pictures a year ago.
Right.
I didn't know, since you're in that area, maybe even the 215 and Hackenberry hurt at the end, or you Do you have a ditch machine out there?
We have the Mini out in that area, so I will.
It's about 3 minutes of work if I had a machine, but I was gonna get a Bobcat to do it, because it's tearing up my field, so I bet. And
This is on the.
3 times request, I just didn't know where I can ask again.
This is on the east side of.
Just east from the cemetery where
Right.
the entrances are, so
Right.
you know, they get a lot of water, it's just filled in a little, 3 spots, not the whole ditch.
Right.
A couple spots need some work.
I'll see what we can get done for you. We really need to do the whole ditch.
I know it's a lot of money. And
Right, but
maybe while we're there.
while we're in the area, we'll see what we can get done.
Yeah, I'll
East
work it.
Evergreen on the east or west side of the road?
It's the east side of the
East
Yeah,
road.
the east side, yeah, so, yeah. If you could, I could.
Well, you know, we talked about that west side,
Sure.
washing out a little bit.
Right, but
Yeah,
this is on the
west side needs a
east.
little help.
Yeah.
Greg, I was talking with Greg about that machine, I'd help him,
That
but
west
you guys
side,
got a lot better equipment than I can get.
that west side's probably gonna take some rock.
Rock, big rock. And,
Anyway,
yeah,
Okay, thank you, sir.
we'll definitely see what we can get done for you.
Sorry to interject.
Hey, no problem at all. None at all.
you need his number, anything to talk to him anymore, you know
We
him?
talked before. I'll
Okay.
get hold of him.
Yeah.
Very good.
We're good.
Thank you, Eric.
Yep,
Thanks, sir.
yep.
Okay, moving right along, Mary Pemberton and Mark McCoy, transit guest tax. You can have a seat if you'd like. And Mark, you both can sit down if you'd like. We have a microphone there.
Sure.
If you'd both like to talk at the same time.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Is this on?
Red
Red
button
light's
on?
on. It
Okay.
is.
All right.
If the red button's on, it's working.
Well, if I may, I'd like to read this to you. We are speaking today to explain what transient guest tax is, who and what situations it applies to, and how it might impact Bourbon County in a positive way. We do not represent any company, any entity, or individuals other than ourselves. Transient guest tax is an occupancy tax paid by people who rent lodging for a short term. That's defined as 28 consecutive days or less. It is not a tax imposed on businesses or individuals who own the lodging being rented. It is added to the hotel and/or house rental bill and paid by the person who rents the room. This is a nationwide common activity. So TGT is not a tax paid by Bourbon County residents. It is truly the one tax that brings money into the county almost exclusively from non-residents. If you've ever noticed when you take a trip and stay at a hotel or rent a house, the advertised rate for the night may be $99, but the amount you pay may actually be $115 or more. The additional amount is because you also pay sales tax, TGT tax, cleaning fees, resort and/or other fees. It is standard procedure, just like when you buy something from a store, there will be a tax added. Few people ever ask what the tax rate is before booking a room. You know you'll be paying tax regardless of where you stay, and expect the tax rate will be simply a matter of which hotel you choose, since you are looking within a limited area. The city of Fort Scott already has a transient guest tax and has had for decades. Most years it generates between $115,000 and up to $150,000 of revenue for the city. The remainder of Bourbon County does not have a transient guest tax, and I believe, it is time to implement a county-wide transient guest tax. Last year, Kansas changed its law pertaining to TGT, so we would like to provide a brief explanation of when the tax is applied and when it is not. Since most people listening today or probably don't care about these details, I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible. Overviews will provide commissioners and anyone else who wants it more details. The big change Kansas has made due to growing the internet booking sites, which has made non-traditional lodging accommodations so much easier for anyone with with an extra room, or to rent a house to make extra money by renting it for a short-term stay. Sites, rooms, rental houses to make extra money by renting for short-term, as Airbnb, VRBO, Flip Key, Home to Key, or Tripping, to name a few, are called the marketplace facilitators. Now in Kansas, rentals may be made through marketplace facilitators. They are subject to the TGT. If you own a one-bedroom cabin that you advertise and rent via Airbnb, You are probably wondering how you'll be affected if Bourbon County enacts a TGT. The answer is you don't have to do anything. Airbnb adds the transient guest tax to the taxes and fees that are included. And after a person finalizes their booking, Airbnb collects the tax the same as they do all other charges. And at the end of the month, Airbnb will report and remit the TGT to the state. It is virtually invisible to you as the owner if the rental is made via a qualified facilitator. Then TGT applies and the facilitator collects, reports, and remits the tax. Did you want to
take over?
Would you?
Okay, so there are times when an individual with a house that they're renting will rent it through Airbnb. There are also times they might do it directly with the person renting the house, in which case the TGT only applies if they have 3 bedrooms or more that are available for rent. And this could be in the form of 3 separate 1-bedroom cabins or a single 3-bedroom house. If you meet the 3 or more bedroom requirement, then you are responsible for collecting and remitting the transient guest tax, but only on your direct-to-consumer rentals. As long as you are renting via Airbnb or one of the other facilitators, that facilitator is responsible. They will collect, they will remit the tax, so they do all the work. Like Mark said, it's invisible to you as the homeowner. As far as the economic impact that the county might see, as we mentioned, the city of Fort Scott already has a transient guest tax. It's at 6% currently. They've had it for decades. The only addition to the county would be places that are located outside of the city limits of Fort Scott. Now, I tried to put together some numbers here. I didn't even make an attempt to count all the hunting package type operators that are in the county. Some of them may be affected by this, some of them may not. It all depends on exactly how many rooms and how it's rented out. And there are probably a few just individuals that I didn't pick up on. So basically what I'm saying is the numbers that I'm going to present should be on the low side of what would be immediately impacted to the county. So currently, not counting Fort Scott City, outside of that, Bourbon County has at least 2 or 3 businesses that would fall under the hotel classification for transient guest tax, and at least a dozen other smaller operators or individuals. So I calculated at least 40 rental units that are in place, being rented today, that would be collecting a transient guest tax as soon as it would be implemented by the county. The rental rate for these units vary widely, anywhere from approximately $75 a night up to $350 a night. I figured an average nightly rental rate of $100, again, trying to keep it on the low side, and figured if each unit is rented on an average 1 night per week, which is 52 nights in a year, the tax collected to Bourbon County would be $12,480. If it's rented 20% of the time, which is 73 nights per year per unit, the tax collected would be $17,520. If rented 2 nights per week, 104 nights a year, the tax collected would be $24,960. And again, that is from units that are currently in place. As the county grows, tourism, more units are added. If the nightly rental rate is actually more than $100, then obviously the tax will be higher. But as a percentage of the annual budget for the county, I realize the TGT is a very small figure. But by statute, Kansas statute, the proceeds can only be used to promote tourism within the county. So it's not like we can collect this money and then use it to fix our roads. It is directed strictly for tourism. And the county currently doesn't spend a whole lot of money on tourism, but I know that you have made pledges to Bourbon County Ready for this year, future years, that will have a little bit of money designated for tourism in that. So rather than funding or providing that money from property taxes or taxes on Bourbon County residents, why not collect a TGT from visitors to the county and use that to fund that portion that you do pay for tourism efforts? In my opinion, every little bit of savings that can be achieved from reduced government spending and every little bit of income that can come from sources other than property taxes in Bourbon County is a good thing, and we should do it, rather than adopting an attitude that, well, that's too small to make any difference, so, you know, why even bother? 15,000 here, 100,000 there, it all adds up. And it does make a difference to those Bourbon County residents who are already burdened with one of the highest property tax rates within the state of Kansas, which is one of the highest taxed states in the country. So I do have more details on the changes made to the transient guest tax that allow for the Airbnb rentals to be subject to the tax, and the fact that those facilitators are responsible for the accounting, the remitting, all of that. I have information that shows the statutes, other counties and entities. I think there is 149 within the state of Kansas that already have transient guest tax in effect. Crawford County has one. Iola, the city of Fort Scott, practically everybody collects transient guest tax on their stays. This would simply be expanding beyond the city of Fort Scott to incorporate the remainder of the county. And like I say, these funds could be used to help promote tourism, which could be something like the upcoming Uniontown Settlers Days, or the Bronson, I think they call it Bronson Days, or Kansas Rocks Parks, or, you know, just the campgrounds that we have. Anything that could be considered tourism within the county could be included.
Actually could be spent possibly Elm Creek for improvements for campers and tourism, so.
It could be used to help improve the facilities. I believe it could, yes.
Well,
So,
shouldn't you have any comments? I certainly, go ahead.
I think it would be, I think now is the time for us to really start having these conversations,
Yeah.
So that we're ahead of the curve in the event that we start to really thrive here in Bourbon County, for expansion and economic development. And so, this would just help us capture that, on a countywide basis.
Now, you mentioned this is sent to the state. Does the state keep any of it?
No.
Percentage, they don't keep any
So
of it.
they keep 2%.
Oh, yes, of the,
2%.
Oh,
But
yeah,
the
gotta have
vast majority
a little bit to go to the state.
is coming back.
So administratively, how do you track it?
you don't have to do anything, honestly.
I mean, so it's
So-
just kind of the honor system?
Yes and no. So if you have a business and it's lodging, then you would have to pay that. The one thing about it is that, and I think I've talked about this before, it'd probably be our treasurer that has the ability to do this, but you can actually see who is paying taxes, whether it be sales tax, transient guest tax, alcohol tax, whatever it might be. But only one person from that entity has the ability to look that information up and report it if someone is not filing appropriately. That information cannot be shared with anybody else. There are definite rules and regulations around that, but there is somebody that can keep an eye on it. But the true regulation comes from the state of Kansas.
Yeah. And most businesses, they pay taxes anyway. They
Yeah.
probably file sales tax return.
And
This return
Hope so.
would be so much simpler than
Yeah,
anything
it
else,
is.
honestly, that they file.
Yeah,
And
it's
certainly,
very-
as you mentioned,
it's
across
very
the country,
simple.
when we travel, we pay it. I see it
Mm-hmm.
every time I go to a
Yeah.
motel, so it's nothing new, so.
Right.
Yes.
I would support it, but I would rather hold off to a vote till we have a full commission.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not expecting you
Yeah.
to give the up or down today. We just want you to start thinking about it. We would
Okay.
like to see action taken in the next few months, probably for January 1st effective.
You make sure it's on the agenda in 2 or 3 weeks, to make sure Mr. Beth is back.
We think that an important part would be that the city would dissolve theirs, and this would replace it countywide. So changing hats a little bit, but with Bourbon County ready, and the entity that it is and is becoming more so with the transient guest tax being moved organization to Bourbon County ready, with the tourism director operating out of there, you know, having one entity that benefits the entire citizens of Bourbon County is ideal. You know, we need to think more, and it's not the word globally, we need to think in the entire county. Anything and everything we do needs to benefit the entire county, which includes all the cities. Sometimes people forget that a city exists within the county. And so by benefiting the county, it benefits everybody, and this way the money is properly accounted for. You were saying it is proprietary information. I was on the Transient Guest Tax Board for many years. You're not allowed to know which entities have collected or have not collected. You can be told that the collections are down, but there is an appropriate process through the state of Kansas and the collections of them being the collector of it. And so they will receive notification. Just like if, as an example, a business operated here and was a day or 2 or 5 days late on reporting their sales tax, you would receive a nasty gram from the state of Kansas notifying you that you failed to report and pay your sales tax by X date. So the entity would know that. So you know, collecting these things is a normal part of operating a business, and it's things that I get the opportunity to talk about as the small business development coordinator for Ready. Because many people going into business don't understand all the intricacies of owning and operating a business, whether it's small or large. You don't have a large accounting department, you're it. You don't have a maintenance department, you're it. You don't have a finance director, you're it. So knowing and understanding all the intricacies of owning and operating a business are very important, whether it's regionally, locally, or internationally. And I had the benefit of learning and understanding those things in a larger corporation. So I'm very much in favor of this. This is probably the 4th or 5th time that I've come to speak on this subject. I think what took place in the state of Kansas here that Mary was able to research and provide for us here is that the process has changed. And with these entities that I talked about, whether that's VRBO or Airbnb or the other 3, it makes it seamless. And again, I would echo, whenever we have the opportunity to travel, you don't book a hotel, or heavens forbid you want a rental car. You look at the price and it's X a night, but that's not the price you pay when you put your credit card down and you pay it.
Right.
Or cash or whatever it is you do. It's a fact, it's a part of life, it's the normal thing. So we greatly appreciate you listening to us, Mary.
I also just wanted to emphasize real quick that for those small operators, somebody that has a room that they rent out in their house, for example, couch surfing's what the kids call it. That's a thing. People rent out just single room for a night for somebody that's passing through that wants a cheap place to stay. Somebody that has just a, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom house or cabin, even most of the time they are rented through Airbnb. But even if they're not, if they're just a single 2 bedroom house, they don't have to pay the tax themselves. So there is nothing that those operators have to do. They don't have to collect, they don't have to file tax returns. we're not putting any more administrative burden on just those individuals within the county that might want to rent their house. Okay?
Sounds simple.
All right.
Thank you.
I do
So
have
you-
some more
Have
information.
you talked to the city yet? Have you had conversations?
No.
With the city?
We plan on doing such with the city commissioners and the city manager. Do you have anything you'd like
Yeah.
for us to convey to them?
No, you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we kind of wanted to get a
Yeah.
little bit of feel from you all before we proposed anything to the city.
Yes.
We've
I do
been
have some
talking about it
information.
For quite a while.
Well, I support it, but
Appreciate it.
Good
We'll
to
see
know.
what the others
I have
say.
some more
There's a lot more
information
businesses
for
out there
you
than
all.
You would think.
Yes.
I did have a conversation and got it all down in an email as well with the taxing authority at the state for transient guest tax, and tried to cover a lot of the kind of unique situations that Bourbon County has, particularly with hunting, tourism. So this is all here for y'all
Okay.
to
Thank
be
you.
able to read through and get some more information.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
I just leave here on his desk.
Yeah,
Do you want one? Yes, please.
I'll pass it on. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, can we have a 5-minute break?
Yes, sir. We should.
10-minute break?
Gonna take a 10-minute break, folks.
3-minute break?
2 hours. You always wanting something more, isn't he?
Hey,
Great.
Oh.
This is questions that I post to the state that provide the state's.
Just to catch him in, I didn't have a teacher to cap. Never had him, didn't have a secretary, so I was in. And I wasn't in the office, nobody could come. Hey, appreciate you. Stay in the office. If one come in, I would put a sticky note, so-and-so called my number. And they go, well, the other guy didn't do that. The other guy didn't do that. And I said, I don't care. I'm running one of those little deals. And it's just common courtesy to help people out. I said, now, if it's a family emergency, I'll be in there not running your door taking over for you if you just go take care of it. There's a difference between that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm having fun, Jason. Hey, hear about the old high-speed chase out there? They had a high-speed chase out of 95th, which is, no, Sunday. Yeah, my daughter and wife was going to church. And the daughter, left after her wife. So when she got in, couldn't go down 95th because it was blocked up, patrol car. And so they come back and said they could get back longer. I went to Iowa to take care of some business over there on Sunday, and by golly, the only thing left on 95th was the highway patrol. When I come back, one of the local county was coming up the road, and then there was a wrecker with a van on it, and then sitting on down by Range Road.
How you doing?
So it didn't end well, I guess?
Well, I don't know. They said they had a helicopter out too. They don't know if they caught whoever it was, but supposedly it was a stolen vehicle or something. They think they know who it was, but my thing is they have so many high-speed chases around here
Oh, I know.
that they're going to kill somebody.
Land ends,
It's just a matter of
world
time.
famous.
It's been rated out.
And there's no reason for that.
From all over.
They take it.
This is one hell of a steak.
Yeah.
Their beef tips, I guess, were amazing.
Where's this?
Land's End.
Barbecue.
I like barbecue.
I didn't mean to mention your name.
It was right across, it's where the, it used to be where the Chinese restaurant is, out there on South. Right in there.
Top three.
It was
was the hot part. I was just young. Well,
afraid
we
of
used to take me
Bourbon.
out there after the industrial league basketball game. He'd drink beer and I'd get a pop and we'd have a
I
barbecue.
guess Colton's barbecue.
But it was
Pittsburgh.
packed all the time.
What's that?
Colton's
I
barbecue.
heard about that.
Yeah, they
Toby's.
said, embezzled.
Toby's restaurant used to have the land-in barbecue recipe where they still do, I don't know.
I saw like a big ad or something.
He probably, you remember land-ins
I don't remember it, but it
before your
was,
time?
but mom and dad said that I went there.
Oh, yeah,
It wasn't very big.
Yeah.
A lot of places in the land in.
Huh?
I got quite a few places in the land in. Back
Oh,
early.
it was hot, man.
You go down to the Land Inn and old Tiny Pierce would be there. Tiny Pierce was a
Well,
little.
you know,
It was the place.
remember when Wright's opened up over there, they had the land in barbecue recipe.
That's what I just told her.
Yeah, and of course, Aunt
They were
Toby's
open.
don't.
Huh?
Aunt Toby's don't,
Oh, they
but
don't?
Wright's, I don't think so.
Well, I don't know.
They don't advertise it on their menu.
Wright's used to.
Yeah.
Of course, Wright's was open
Right.
a long time ago, right?
Before, oh, I know, they were open the same time Land Inn was, they just bought the recipe or something, but
Yeah.
see, when I went to Wright's,
Huh?
I said, I haven't heard that.
when I went to Wright's, you got one thing, you got pork tenderloin. Tell you a funny story about that old, Tom McCready, used to race his dad,
Yeah.
he went and got him,
I seen him the other
went and got
day.
him tenderloin.
Is he living here?
I think so. We got tenderloin, he was laying underneath the front of that race car wrenching on something, eating that tenderloin, he said, he looked over, I had this big old collie named Tip.
I remember the dog.
He said Tip just reached over and took a bite out of the sandwich. Didn't take the whole sandwich, just took a bite. He said, just real slow, you know. I
He
bet
probably
my-
ate it anyway, didn't he?
I was sure Tom did. But just hearing Tom tell that story, of course, you know, the person that happens to always tells the story the best.
I worked with a guy up at KDOT, we were out southwest mowing, and there was, man, it was hot, and there was this dog running up and down the road. Well, anyway, he stopped, he carried one of them big water jugs, he stopped, threw the lid on, filled that lid full of water, sat down, give that dog a drink, the dog didn't drink it all, he picked it up. He finished her, he topped her off after.
By the way, I came to work yesterday, I saw your email asking about how many hens gone.
Yeah.
They'll wait now. The, how many wins?
Yeah, I remember that.
Tim said him and Brad and Justin did it with Eric Lumberfield. We walked back, it was winter time, snow. So he reached in to get scored out of the bottle, and Julie's, they just both sitting in the truck. Julie's we're not doing anything. And he goes, I was not gonna be a snore. Cause it's cold out here. Well, there you go. Morning. We're doing all right. Hey, I seen, a big piece of county equipment going up the Yale Road this morning. They get ready to pack that bad boy with that piece of equipment.
Junior.
Look pretty good.
You're doing.
Because I guarantee he coached me.
That's not supposed to be healthy for you, is that what you drink yet?
Oh, it's very
They
healthy
did a
for you.
good job.
You said
It's just highly caffeinated.
Oh.
But when they did Yale, that was just a shotgun approach, and they did not.
Rusty
And B
spur.
vitamins.
That's right there on Wall Street, isn't it? I thought I seen a sign there or something, so.
You don't have a basis for it.
Oh.
I function a lot better when I'm caffeinated.
I understand.
I gave everyone else an agenda, and I didn't give myself one.
Yeah, not as many as usual, it was really slow, but we had fun. Cause that water's ice cold, I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah, we love it
Yeah.
down there.
You know, so we got hot, just got in the water and went fishing, so. We usually, this time of year, I only put on waders, shorts and t-shirt and fishing, and stay cool.
Yeah.
It was great, we had
And
a
the curve,
good camping trip.
I can never understand why the curve is. Boy, I tell you.
Didn't,
There's some people.
well, it wasn't my grandson, I moved down there. I would.
Oh, I know where it is.
I just go.
Used to be that.
I was
that
gonna say, I
road
think
though.
the last time
It
we
used to,
went,
used to
we were
be
taking the
that
boys
there was,
and
on the
we got to
east
Aurora.
side of it, used to be a big deep swimming
And
hole there.
a
The
truck
flood
threw
come-
up
trees.
Oh, yeah, they come
something
in
and
it
shattered
flooded
our
and
front
it filled
windshield
the bins.
and
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So we went to the car wash and vacuumed the glass and headed back home.
But they really let them.
But the boy was disappointed.
It used to be when
They
I,
like to go,
I had a good friend,
like to feed the fish.
John Stonking.
Yeah, but it's
He
pretty
owned
neat.
We kinda cheat and
Behind
we take our own
Guthrie
fish
down
food.
there, about 17 acres. something like
That sounds pretty interesting right there.
that. Before he
That's
owned it,
fun.
Robert
But, you know, you could stay on the Irish go for a day.
We just
Robert
went for a
Martin,
day.
Kevin Harper.
But we take our little camper down there and have fun.
And then John died in a fire. His
Have a good
son,
time.
Wichita,
Dennis and Sue had a camper with Papa,
Really,
and they used to camp, but
we were really gay across.
Scott always wants to go.
But John
Go
was
for the day and
down
then go home.
party on the river, fishing stuff.
Yep.
Cleaned up after himself. Think we got.
Okay, are you ready, Lynn?
I am.
All right, Mr. Justin Meeks, County Counselor, please.
I just want to articulate this a little bit so to make sure that I'm, transparent. We really have, there's attorney-client privilege, possible litigation. There's attorney-client privilege with some review of statutes and finding out if we're in violation of those statutes. And then there is going to be a conversation that involves litigation with employment issue. So those are the three things that we're going to talk about while we're in executive session. So just to clarify that there's going to be all attorney-client privilege with litigation, but there's going to be three subparts within that
Okay.
executive session. So
Much time you need?
I need the two commissioners, myself and Susan. Susan's coming in as an expert in all three matters with regards to the information that we need to help you guys make some decisions.
20 minutes, 15, 30?
I say, we're all pretty fast talkers. I mean, it's pretty much an information dump, and then you guys are going to have to make some decisions. Probably not today. One of them could be today, so there might be action when you come out. So if we think there could be action, we probably need 15 minutes. Okay, so we need 15 minutes.
You want to make the motion, Lynn?
Sure, I move to go in executive session for 15 minutes for KSA 7543-19B2 for consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency to which it would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Two commissioners, Justin and Susan, return back to this room at 9:57.
I second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. after that comes back on, and I'll second it.
I did press it.
You did?
You might need to, you might need to be.
I second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. No action.
Susan Vancroft, Chief Financial Officer.
Kind of just asked Justin to be here to make sure that I am understanding when we took over the neighborhood revitalization program. Part of that, we have two different funds. One fund is where the money comes in for the property distribution so that you can pay that back to the taxpayers that have the rebate. And then 5% can be taken as an administrative fee. And it looked like when we started this program in 2016, each year we were taking those dollars as an administration fee, but that stopped in 2019. And so we have a buildup in our neighborhood revitalization fund of about $90-some thousand. So when I did the calculations last night, it looks like we can transfer about $65,000 over into that administration fee fund. But after I talked to Terry this morning, I really don't think that we need that fund. I think those dollars need to go back into the general fund as a reimbursement for the appraiser's expense of just having to administer the fund, and it helps you offset some costs there. So I don't know what,
Yeah, I think
is that the history of it?
What it was supposed to do was help, I mean, the appraiser's office spends a lot of time actually administrating those. They monitor the build out, they go in and inspect the structure once it's completed, pre-construction, during construction, and after construction. There's administrative parts, they have a packet they have to start, middle, and end to, and there's a lot of paperwork and time that's spent by the appraiser's office monitoring that fund. I always thought that fund went back into their operational funds anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't. For some reason, it was set up as an individual fund. So I would like the permission to make a transfer to close out that NRP fund. That is the fee fund, the 5% fee fund, to move those dollars to the general fund, which will just help going forward. It's been running about,
Just a code change. Just a code
yeah,
change.
essentially. Well, and we haven't been making the transfer every year. So at the end of the year, I will look at and take 5% of the proceeds and then move it to the general fund every year. It's about $20,000 a year. I mean, that will help definitely the general fund.
I just, outside overlooking your shoulder.
That's okay.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about this is in 2016 it was 175,000. In 2021 it's almost $500,000.
Yeah.
So I mean the NRP is doing exactly what was intended. I mean this is people are using it, and it's a really good program, and it helps people probably do a little bit more than they probably planned, which is a good thing. And I mean, this is a substantial growth. I haven't looked at it in a while, and that's exciting.
And depending on if they're on the 5 or 10 year plan, they'll come back on the tax rolls, and so
one
that's
out
going to
there.
help.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
we really need to be
our
taking a look at.
valuations.
It's House Bill 2237, and it's called NAHB. And the way I read it is that these affordable housing for rural areas, and you have two bands, anything 8,000 population and under, and 8,000 above. The under 8,000 gets $35,000 back on the construction, and the over 8,000 gets $32,000. So it's a real good incentive.
Is that for the
just
county
central.
total, or can you break it down like city?
I
what's that
have
under?
to, I have to get into it.
Okay.
I just found out about it late yesterday. And it says, 35,000 in tax credits per housing unit in counties with population under 8. Cap would fall to 32 per unit in counties with 8,000 to 25,000. And 25,000 for, in 75,000 expanding access and quality affordable housing. So this was passed this last session. So it should be another one that we can use to, along with this NRP, to actually spur some building.
I do have a question, and it kind of ties into what we're talking about. Seems like every meeting I go to, everyone says we need housing. But I haven't run into anybody that has an action team or a plan or anybody. Is that something we need to start? What's your guys' opinion? Someone's gonna have to start this, 'cause it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it, but no one's got a plan. Or there's a plan, I
Well,
haven't
I
seen it.
believe, this is a public-private partnership type thing, and the NRP and the House Bill 2237, those are the types of things where the public comes in and helps with the private partnership. The interesting thing I've heard in a couple meetings I've attended with regards to contractors and people that do this for a living is that you have a very interesting margin in Bourbon County, and you also have your assessed value is another big deal that's happening. So you have input costs of X, and it only ends up being appraised for Y, and they're not matching up because, obviously the housing market's doing a lot better than it did ever probably, but your input costs are so high right now that it's not matching up to what the actual appraisal is. And that's problem one. And then two, the development itself, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to get the neighborhood, land bank and things like that, is that we've got some neighborhoods that are blighted, and you put a house in the middle of that blighted neighborhood and the assessed value, the houses that are comparables that sell within that neighborhood are not going to match up to what is being put in. So there's some difficulties. You got, back in the day it was $85 to $110 a square foot. Now you're not even close to that. And
No.
price of lumber is coming down, and that could help, but
That could help,
yeah. Inflation, price of lumber, input costs, labor. We have a huge labor problem. I know from experience, trying to find somebody to help you do something. So
So is this something the cities and counties should be working together on, maybe doing some type of program that would help?
I'm going to get some, Rob Harrington's working on this. I know that he's had some meetings with multiple different entities, some outside developers, developers within the community. I know there's been some. He's done I don't know if the housing study's done yet, but he did. He spent some Bourbon County ready money on a housing study that needed to be done. So there's definitely some preliminary stuff that's happened. But the other thing too is that helping a gentleman from outside the state came in and I think bought some lots. He's having the same kind of problem that the people that live here locally, is just finding a workforce to help him build the house. That really is one of his hangups right now, is just trying to find.
Well, and we also have, and I know it's a tax, but when you're creating new homes, you have the opportunity to do special taxing districts to help with that infrastructure build out. And so, that's something else that you can do it's a special assessment, but yet it's spread out over several years so that you can help pay for that,
Well,
those
we're-
improvements.
One of our big problems is we're competing with the big cities.
Yes.
People are going north because they can make a lot more money. And once they get up there and if they're good at what they're doing, they won't let them leave. They just keep using.
Well, and two, Susan was involved with this, and so was I. The two really real-world examples was one, the USD 234, when they passed the bond, they had a really big problem finding labor, and then when we built the jail, it was X, and it turned into Y, and one of the reasons it went so high was that they couldn't find anybody to work because they were
Right.
building
We
casinos.
lost our workforce.
They were building casinos down south, and there was a big project up at, Gardner, Edgerton area that was, I think it was Amazon, or, it was drawing people from,
Well, and it's still going on.
Right. Well, I think, going back to what, something Rob said that was intriguing about this too, is that everything is an input cost to the actual square footage. There are places like, I always forget the name of the town. There's a town in Kansas, a really small one, that they've grown their population by almost 12%, and by giving land away, and then that helps with the cost, bringing it down, because if you got the land for free, your price per square foot goes down. So, these types of taxing areas where they build the infrastructure and things like that, that helps the builder bring the cost down so you can sell the house for a competitive price. So, everything, it was Marquette, Kansas. Yeah.
Well, really, excuse me, you think city or county giving some property away and getting a nice home built, it's a win situation from tax the next 50 years or whatever.
Right.
Long time.
Yeah, and that's where the land bank comes in. So, I think Matt's gonna go over some properties in some pretty nice areas of our community that were 5 or 6 houses are part of that land bank. And so if you hold on to those 5 or 6 lots and then wait for the next sale and the next sale, at that point, it becomes an area where you can actually develop the whole block.
Change the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
Or in our case, I think we've talked about this before, where the commissioners could buy some land, 20 acres, 80 acres, whatever. I mean, I know Commissioner O'Hara talked about this, I think on the record even 5 or 6 years ago about having the county purchase, 80 acres and have that tax development come in and build the infrastructure and try to give those lots away to people that, are going to build. I mean, Kansas City just got ranked the #1 place in the entire world to basically conduct business and to live. I mean, we're literally under an hour to one of the best places in the entire world to live right now. And so,
And one of the catalysts that we worked on and did get accomplished was working with Crawcan to get the high-speed internet. And now we're doing some rural broadband that's even going to help that even more. And that's kind of a key factor in the growth is being able to work from home with high-speed internet.
Right.
So we, and I keep telling, we need to be promoting that.
well, they ought to, we've talked for
Especially with
years.
gas prices the way that they are.
The out of box thinking. I mean, Mary Pemberton said this too. I mean, and also, not to quote Mary Pemberton, but she's not here, but Ann did too. We got to start thinking radically. We have to start thinking about lowering the taxes. We have to bring people into our community, and the only way to do that is jobs and housing. And right now, there's jobs, but there is zero housing.
Well, certainly Rob, it sounds like he's on top of it.
Yeah.
but-
Oh, yes.
Multiple.
I would hope once he's ready, we can have an action team with the county and city and move forward with some ideals, because we've been talking about it for a long time.
Well, I can think of multiple meetings that Rob's been, and that with the housing study, that's going to help somebody with a developer come in and possibly.
With the possibility of things happening in the economic development world, it might be another trigger that will help us.
I mean, I think
Houses.
the conversations I've had with at least one realtor in town is that even with the slowdown a little bit, there is a huge need for the single family, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, high efficiency, and so, 1,700 square feet, and
Well,
nothing fancy, not mansions, but,
This
just,
last month, housing has ticked up again.
yeah. Well, because migration's happening, which is a good thing, because it's happening to our community. We're one of those lucky communities that people want to move to.
Okay.
Do
Well,
I
and I
need
had a-
formal action to?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, so I need you guys to give me authority to make that transfer from, to close that fund and move it to the general fund.
So I make a motion to allow Susan to transfer the NRP fund to the general fund and close out that account.
You won't be closing it out, we'll be transferring it to that county rate.
No, what I'll do is I'll transfer, there's two funds. There's an NRP fund and then there's an NRP fee fund, which is the 5%. I'm closing that one.
Okay, NRP
And that 5% would
fee-
always be
fee
transferred to the
fund.
general fund.
I second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Shane Walker, sir.
Ian Walker.
Join the table, please, sir.
You guys had brought up the broadband thing.
Yes, sir.
So we've got an engineering firm like doing site surveys a couple other places. We're kind of doing them both ways with the radios and the broadband. The 250th Street Tower that we partnered up with New Wave on, they can't get stuff put in people's houses fast enough.
That's good.
They filled a huge gap out there, and the next one will be the Hidden Valley area. Years back, we went into kind of an agreement with Crawcan and did like a private-public thing with them putting their network operations center here in the jail. And, I mean, they've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars here in the community. And New Wave's gonna continue that in the county, and
Good.
hopefully
Well,
there won't be anywhere where we
That
can't get in.
and with all the fiber access, it gives us the ability to put dispatch
Oh, yeah, I mean,
over here too.
having them here was a huge thing because that allowed us to complete all of our fiber stuff to all the buildings. We're tied in with the city, the county, even to the schools if needed.
And we probably got one of the top-notch networks in this area.
Yeah, I mean, that was,
Southeast Kansas. Like
yeah,
you
to
said,
have our whole
it-
town wired like
it's
that, we
like
have
you
it.
said, we have a better gigabit service than Google.
Yeah, we do. I mean, Crawcan's really good people, and they're good people to work with.
Well, I'm glad to hear it's getting all across our county because I'm talking about my grandson. It's amazing what they have to do online at home for school lessons, so all of our kids need it. So.
And I assume since he's switched over, they haven't had,
Well, they're getting ready to hook him up.
oh, they haven't got.
He had to cut down 3 or 4 trees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, making progress, so. They're excited about new ones.
Heck, I might have to clear cut a forest.
That's the only problem with the wireless is you gotta have good line of sight.
Build that tower higher.
What else going on in IT department? Anything exciting?
No, we're just doing a bunch of stuff with the city and the county, hooking things together, make it easier to work on, easier to back each other up, so
Good.
that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. All right, public comment section, please. Ms. Adair?
Just a couple of comments. I want to back up and just say that I concur with what Mark and Mary presented. I watched a couple of months ago now, I think, probably a tourism advisory board at the city, and there was one gentleman who was very adamant about keeping those transient guest tax. He had a business in town, in the city, those transient guest tax dollars in the city, but yet across the table sat someone who was in the county who's done tremendous effort and grown their business and advertised the county. And I'm going, so you're just gonna, sorry, I won't use the word, the people in the county. And it is exciting to see the different things that are happening and popping in our county. And if there's any way to really get on board to push our businesses and what we have here as a county, I'm just all for that and excited to see what was presented today. Also, just as Susan and Justin were talking, is there any way, what popped into my head was industry to our smaller communities, but especially those along Highway 54 and Highway 69, so that the access would be good. You know, maybe industries, or maybe there's someone in the county who would like to start and have, 5 or 10 employees. Now, I understand housing is a problem, but if there's no reason for them, to move to a smaller community, work that might be down the road rather than driving an hour. I don't know if there's anything on the state level or if NRP may not come into play there, but just, yeah, I don't know if anybody has anything to put about that, but input. I had one more thought, but I don't remember what it was, so that's okay. Glad to see you're working on Yale Road. Can you tell me exactly on Yale Road what they tore up, what they have torn up?
From the entry of the Hidden Valley. West to 55th, I think.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other public comment? No one? All right. We're moving right along. Commission comment.
You got anything?
No, I'm just excited. I think the county is
Excited.
Excited.
That's hard for somebody our age.
I think the county, and I see the city doing some good things, trying to move forward, housing, growth, a lot of things. I think we have some exciting times ahead of us we can't talk about yet. We hope everything comes in place. And, the success to our county is growth. And I'm excited to be here, so that's all I have.
Well, I've been in the public sphere, if you will, serving the public for 19 and a half years.
Yeah.
2 years with the state, 10 years with the school board, 7.5 years so far here.
Yeah.
Been quite a trip. You learn a lot, school taught me a lot about the public. Well, being a representative did too. It's a dog-eat-dog world in Topeka, let me tell you what. They'll eat your lunch. I'm really proud of all the things we have done in the past. I feel that we've really tried to control taxes, and if you look at the list of things that's been accomplished over the last 7.5 years, it's quite extensive. It really is. People don't realize all the things that we have done. And you know, I understand that the budgets have grown, but again, it's up to the elected officials and the department heads to do everything they can to keep their budgets in line with our county population, which has declined, and the poverty level we have here is really horrendous. So we can't really expect people to pay more property taxes for the same services. I've had an opportunity that I can't pass up. It's something that I like doing. So with that, I'm going to resign this position on July the 12th. Will be my last day. Been very, it's kind of hard.
Oh, I know it. I
Been
bet
a
it
long
is.
time,
Yeah.
but it's been great. It's had its ups and downs, but I've loved what I've done. You get beat up a lot,
You've
but who
done,
cares?
you've done a great job,
That's,
Lynn.
that's what we do.
Yeah,
We're here, but it's kind of like losing your dog,
yeah,
losing a friend.
yeah.
You hate to do it, but
Well,
I can't retire.
No.
I'm too young.
too young, very done.
Retirement is one of those things that I was told is retire at the death wish, and I'm not to that stage yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking for another career, and I'm looking for a career that has some meaning to me. Plus, I'm going to save the county quite a little bit of money by doing what I'm going to do, and it's all about saving money for the county.
Well, I'd like to publicly thank Lynn, because I've worked with him a long time, Public Works Director. I believe Lynn's responsible for the revitalization program we've just talked about. He's responsible for READY. Our Chief Financial Officer, Lynn, has done a lot of great things for the county, so he should be highly awarded for the things he's done. And he's dropped the taxes, which, folks, that's hard to do, continue to drop taxes and provide those services that we do, because services means dollars. That's how it works. So, Lynn, thank you for years of public service, working with me in Public Works. So, thank you.
Well, like I say, it's been quite a trip. You know, the things we're going to do, a little reminiscing. We spent, 6 years working the road and bridge to try to come up with how we get people raises, how we do the job with more. And the first thing out of the box, when I got here, I had to cut his budget. I mean, I
He did.
had to cut it to the bone. We're talking $400,000
Yeah.
that we cut out of road and bridge.
Then he said, go
budget.
do more with less.
Yeah.
And I believe we did.
That
We
was,
did.
let's do more with less, and that's
With his
been
help, with his
and if
help,
you-
we did. So.
If you look at Jim's budget over the years, his budget did not expand, very minimal. I mean, I was so proud of that, but it took a lot of time and dedication. I was spending anywhere from 35 to 45 hours a week on this puppy before we got us a CFO to take that burden off of me.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
Well, and it was, the Public Works made it happen because sport like Lynn supported it and was on board, and we got a lot of things done. We was wise on how we spent the money, and any equipment we bought, we shopped smartly. But thank you, Lynn, and the other commissioners, of course, and thanks you, Susan, for coming on board, because,
There was other departments that really pitched in, the treasurer's office.
yeah,
The clerk's office and deed's office, they all did their share in cutting expenses, and their budgets didn't go up either. I mean, they held the line. The first time we've really had a budget increase is when we started the bridge crew in that organization. And, even with buying this rock crusher, which some people may say that it's not costing more tax dollars.
it's not costing any more
We
money.
did it without raising the budget in road and bridge.
Didn't raise taxes,
You
didn't
know,
raise the
so
budget.
that's a goal.
Yeah,
And like I say, I think if you look back, you'll find out that I cut the mill 4 times.
yep. Quite accomplishment, so thank
I
you,
think,
Lynn.
I think we had a 0.5% mill increase one time.
Yeah.
But anyway, Been a pleasure. Been
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
I don't know you very well, I've been gone 30 years, but, and I agree, you're too young to retire, but you're gonna like it. Sounds like you deserve it.
It's not retirement, this is another career.
And I know what that is, he's gonna be great at it, so.
Yes.
So, well, good. Well, maybe the 12th, we can have a little going away cake or something for
Yes.
Mr. Lynn. That'd be nice. So, like,
As long as you don't get me emotional.
we will. Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We'll be meeting back here at 1 o'clock, the department budget review. It is open to the public. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be, hopefully between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. we'll be done, so I will see you folks then.
Anybody show up, we'll be done early.
Yeah. Or not even showing at all.
I'll be here.
You'll be here.
I'm not gonna say this yet.
We've had some trials and tribulations.